fact, textbooks usually combine these two as one muscle, namely iliopsoas, because they always work in tandem. They're in close proximity to each other. So they just talk about these two as one muscle, one pair of muscle, namely the iliopsoas muscle. And we are going to go a little bit deeper into what these are and how to strengthen them, how to relax them, and so forth. Any questions at this point?
How do you remember all these names?
Just have to study it. If you look at it for a few times, then easily it will be lodged in the memory. It's good to know all this. And especially when we do the different postures, we can identify which of these muscles we are engaging. Is it the deep core muscles or the superficial core muscles? You will see which of these four on the left side, the abdominal musculature, which of them are deep muscles, which are the superficial muscles. When we do crunches, for example, in a gym, when we do crunches, which muscle is targeted? If you have to strengthen the deep muscles, then what postures do we need to do for that? So we are going to study all that now. So let's start with the first muscle that is listed as transversus abdominis, also called transverse abdominis. It's the first in the abdominal musculature, and this is the deepest of the four. Deepest means the closest to the central line of the body. Transversus abdominis, TA. So what is it? You can see a picture of that, right? It's like a big belt. It's like a big belt. The word transverse means horizontal. Transverse means horizontal. When you say transverse plane, it's a horizontal plane. Here transverse, in this context of transversus abdominis, refers to the direction of how the muscles are striated. The muscles, when you look at the muscle fibers, they are in the horizontal direction. Horizontal direction. Now, why is that important? Why is it good to know in which direction the muscles are striated?
For bending. Bending.
Flexibility of.
Is it like a belt, like holding everything together?
Correct. But why is it good to know the direction of how they are striated? In other words, muscle fibers. For example, if we were to change this picture to say that the transversus abdominis, the muscle fibers are running vertically. It's not like that. But suppose if somebody were to draw the picture like that.
Strength.
So the point is, remember, when we engage the muscles, we are contracting the muscles, right? When we are strengthening, we are engaging them, we are contracting the muscles. What is it that gets contracted? So the muscles, they expand and contract along each muscle fiber, right? So when you contract these muscle fibers, what happens? That belt becomes smaller, right?
Yeah.
You're tightening the belt. If the muscle striations were vertical, what does it mean? It means that when the muscles become smaller, it shortens in the height. But that's not what happens here. It's getting tighter. You see the point? It's good to know in which direction they are striated, so that we can ask ourselves, if I were to shorten the distance of these muscle fibers, how does it look like? The new shape, how does it look like? That's what happens when we contract the muscles. So here, when we engage the transverse abdominis, we are tightening this belt. In fact, this is also called a belt muscle, the transverse abdominis. So this is the deepest. Remember, in anatomy, the word deep and superficial, they have very precise meaning. So deep means it is closer to the midline of the body. The deepest or innermost abdominal muscle. Transverse means horizontal, it refers to the direction of the muscle fibers. And then for each muscle we can associate this origin and insertion points. Origin we can think of as this theorem. Where is it firmly has this foundation? And the insertion is the point of movement, sukham, it's free to move over there. But depending on which posture we do, this insertion and origin point can change. So, in fact, many of the kinesiology books, they stop using these names, origin and insertion. They just call it attachment. It's attached to this side and that side. They don't call origin and insertion, because origin usually gives the idea that one side is fixed, you cannot move it, only the other one will move. But depending on how we engage it, they can change their rules. Origin and insertion points can change their rules. Functions. It holds the abdominal organs by creating a strong anterior wall. Right? It's like a nice wall, circular wall. Maintains intra-abdominal pressure. Assists in forced exhalation. When we do Kapalabhati, this is the muscle that we are engaging, the transverse abdominis. In fact, Kapalabhati is a good exercise to strengthen this muscle. Forced exhalation. Or when we blow birthday candles, right? This is the muscle that we are using. Stabilization of the trunk, especially the spine. And then we see what is this linea alba, which is this part is the linea alba. This part. And that is one of the attachment. The insertion, it says, the linea alba. So, this is what is transverse abdominis. Now, we are going to work our way from deeper muscles to more superficial muscles.
Is the color only on the side red, right? The muscle is
That's
the
just
whole
a depiction.
the whole muscle is the whole skin.
Yes,
Whole
yes. Actually, that white part, it also, I'll show an app where I got this from. In fact, I would highly encourage all of us, if you have mobile devices, then have a anatomy app where you can actually see, in 3D you can see what's going on in different muscles, you can rotate it, play around with it, have an idea, 3D idea of how it articulates in the system. And I'll show that after I give this presentation. That's where I got these pictures from. So that white part could be tendons, or in some situations the ligaments. Here, of course, we are not seeing any ligaments, but the white part is the tendon. So when we contract the muscles, it's only the muscle fiber. The red part is contracting. The white part doesn't contract. But here it could be, I have to check whether this is artificially white. It could be an artifact of the app. I'll have to check that.
Just to distinguish between the functions. You're saying that this is where it's contracted, right, on the sides? No.
The whole thing, the whole belt. Yeah. The whole circumference gets shorter when we contract the muscles. So it reduces the size of that whole circle. That means we are making the belt tighter. That's what happens when we contract this muscle. Yeah.
Just going back now related to this, what did you say about, like, why do we need to know about, like, the origin and the insertion? I mean,
So-
the two concepts, can you just go over it again?
Basically, every muscle attaches to two bones. And when we contract the muscle, we are actually shortening the distance between them. For example, if I were to do this movement, then it's the biceps that works. So bicep attach on either end of this joint, and when we contract the muscle, we're actually bringing the forearm closer to the shoulder, right? Now, the point that is stationary, that is what you call the origin. The point at which the muscle is attached to the stationary part is the origin. The other is called the insertion. Insertion moves, but the origin doesn't move. What I was saying earlier was, we have to be careful when we use these words, origin and insertion, because they can change roles. To give a simple example, suppose I were to do flexion. So I extend the arms up and then I bend forwards 90 degrees. Right? So the legs are stationary, whereas the upper extremities are moving. Right? Whereas if I lie down in the supine position and raise the legs up, now they have switched roles. Right? The upper extremities are now stationary, and then the legs are now moving. It's the same muscle that is working. You will see later, it's the iliopsoas. It's the same muscle. And the two endpoints in which it's attached, in one case, the original insertion, the origin in the standing position is that part of the iliopsoas that attaches with the femur, with the leg. And the other part that attaches with the lumbar segment of the spine. That becomes the insertion in the standing position. But they reverse the roles. The insertion and origin change their roles when we do it from the lying down position. And this especially makes sense in yoga postures, right? Because we have so many variations of similar movements that happen in supine position, prone position, standing position. So insertion and origin, they keep changing all around. So that's why when we look at it from the perspective of exercising the system, we have to be careful. So many of the textbooks just say points of attachment rather than saying origin and insertion. Maybe next time I'll make this change in the slides. Points of attachment. Okay, the reason I put this slide, the structure of the rib cage, is because in the previous slide we have many of these terms. The xiphoid process. Processes in anatomy, they are pointy aspects. For example, if you take a vertebra is a very irregular bone. There's lots of pointy protuberances. They are called processes. So this part, the tail end of the sternum or the chest bone, is the xiphoid process. And then this is the linea alba. And then it talks about the costal cartilages 7 to 12. So if you want to know where all these are, so this gives you a picture. So you can see the xiphoid process here, this pointy end of the chest bone, the sternum. And then all these ribs, the floating ribs, and then 7 to 10. This is the point of attachment for the transverse abdominis. So if you want a reference for the previous slide, where all these points are, you can look up this picture. Okay. So what we saw was the transverse abdominis, which is the deepest of the 4 core abdominal muscles. So let's go to the next superficial layer of muscles. These are internal and external obliques. Remember, transverse means horizontal, oblique means diagonal, right? They are moving in a crossways. They are not horizontal, they are not vertical, they are moving at an angle, oblique. And there are 2 layers of muscles, internal obliques and external obliques. And as the name suggests, just outside of the transverse abdominis lies the internal oblique, and then superficial to that is the external oblique. That's why the name is internal and external obliques. So let's examine what they do. Structure. The external obliques are situated on the lateral and anterior parts of the abdomen. Again, anatomical terms. Lateral means side. When they talk about lateral flexion, I remember in one of the Yoga Alliance conference, I've been to several yoga conferences in the past. Sometimes the teacher, when they have read a lot of anatomy, they'll come to the class and say, okay, let's do some lateral flexion today. And half the class will be scratching their head, right? What am I supposed to do? They could as well have said, let's do some side bending. So lateral means side. So external obliques are situated on the lateral and anterior parts of the abdomen, anterior front part of the abdomen. EO, or the external oblique, originate at ribs 5 to 12 and insert at the iliac crest and the linea alba. Internal obliques originate at the inguinal ligament work in tandem. The external, internal obliques, they always complement each other. You cannot just isolate one of them and make it work, keeping the other relaxed. They always work as a pair. The internal oblique runs roughly 90 degrees to the external oblique, creating a basket weave effect. Now, if you would like to know which direction are the external and the internal oblique, of course, both are going in the diagonal direction, right? But when you look at the direction of muscle fibers of the internal and the external oblique, they are at right angles to each other, 90 degrees to each other. So, imagine that you have a coat and you have a pocket in your coat and you are putting your hands in that pocket. Then this is the direction of the muscle fibers of the external oblique. If you are looking at the external oblique, this is the direction of the fibers. Now 90 degrees to that would be the direction of the internal oblique. So internal obliques are like this, external obliques are like this. Direction of the muscle fibers.
Basket weave.
Like a basket weave, yes. So that's one way to remember. Of course, you have to know this pocket, is it internal or external, right? That's the external, because that's more superficial. Functions. Basically, the function of these two, external, internal oblique, are twofold. To help in side bending, namely lateral flexion, and also to assist in bringing torsion, another way to say spinal twist. If you want to do some spinal twisting postures, we are engaging the external, internal obliques. Okay. And then, this is the most superficial of the four, the set of four muscles. Remember, there were four muscles in the abdominal core, right? We started with transverse abdominis, and then internal oblique, and then external oblique. Now this rectus abdominis. Rectus abdominis. People, when they talk about the six-pack muscles, they're referring to this one, the rectus abdominis. You can see the picture of that, right? You have multiple segments for the rectus abdominis. And when you look at it from the side, it looks like a tie.
Yes.
So we have a coat pocket, we have a tie, we have a belt. So it's nicely well endowed with all these accessories that we have in the core. So these striations of this, they run vertically. So in the transverse abdominis, it's horizontal. In the obliques, it's diagonal. In the rectus abdominis, it's vertical. In fact, the word rectus means vertical. Now, you can imagine what happens when we contract this muscle. Right? When we contract this muscle, we are simply bringing the rib cage closer to the pelvis. Bring the rib cage closer to the pelvis. Like when we are doing crunches, for example. When we are doing certain versions of the boat pose, Naukasana or the Navasana, we are actually engaging the rectus abdominis. Later on, we will see there are many versions of the boat pose. Not all versions we need the primary engagement of the rectus abdominis. There are other muscles that also come into play. So this is what is the rectus abdominis. So people who do lots and lots of crunches, thinking that one fine day I'm going to develop six-pack muscle, they're actually targeting this one, the rectus abdominis. But here's the thing. If you have a strong rectus abdominis, but a very weak transverse abdominis, it's not going to help. Because remember, we are trying to strengthen the core, that means the central part of ourselves. And the transverse abdominis are deeper muscles than the rectus abdominis. So we need to also strengthen the transverse abdominis as well. Here's a quiz question. Which posture do you think strengthens the first muscle that we saw, the transverse abdominis, the belt? Which postures or which family of postures will strengthen? Chaturanga Dandasana, yes. In fact, all the family of plank postures, including Chaturanga Dandasana, will help to strengthen the transverse abdominis. You will see that in one of the future slides. If you want to strengthen only this muscle, the rectus abdominis, do lots of crunches, do lots of boat postures. So let's look at it a little more deeply. the most superficial muscle that runs from the pubic bone to the sternum and to the rib cartilages of rib 5, 6 and 7, often referred to as the sixth pack. The rectus abdominis is a long, flat muscle which extends along the whole length of the front of the abdomen. And you also see the origin and the insertion points or the attachment points for these two. Functions: stabilize the pelvis and the rib cage with each other. Flex the vertebral column, especially the lumbar spine. Tense the anterior abdominal wall and assist in compressing the abdominal contents when necessary. Okay. We just saw that the rectus abdominis was the most superficial of the four, but in the lower part of the abdomen, it actually becomes a deep muscle. This rectus abdominal is actually couched inside the transverse abdominis. It's like a little pocket. It just goes and inserts itself into this pocket and becomes the deep muscle. So the fact that the statement that rectus abdominis is the most superficial is only up to this point. Okay, here is a nice way to have a mental picture of what's going on, this set of four muscles. It's good to have this mental model. So you have the innermost muscle, which is the transverse abdominis, which has the horizontal striation. Just outside of that, you have the obliques, the diagonal striations, and then on top of that is the rectus abdominis. Now there's one mistake in this picture, namely here it says the internal obliques lie outside the external oblique, but that's not so. There's one small error here. The external obliques should lie outside. It's more superficial than the internal obliques. But this is a good model to have in our mind.
And you said that the bottom is actually tucked, right?
Yes,
It's
even that's not shown
completely-
here. Yeah. Now, it's very interesting why this abdominal musculature is designed this way. When I was doing my PhD, I had a couple of my graduate student colleagues who are working on their PhD in the subject of robotics, designing robots. And one of the things they do in robotics is to understand how the human body works, how it is organized, how the muscles are designed. Because as we know, it's a very sophisticated mechanism. Right? We can get a lot of insights on how the human body is designed so that they can use those insights to design robots. And one of the things that he told me was, why do we have this rectus abdominis only in the front part of the body? For example, if we had a similar vertically striated muscle on the sides, right? If you want to bend to the side, just have to engage one muscle rather than two muscles here. And these two are big muscles, expends a large amount of energy. If you have to bend to your side, it requires a lot of energy to engage both the internal and external obliques. Whereas if you had just one muscle here, just like the rectus, one more six pack here on the right side and one more six pack here on the left side, very easily we can bend to the left and right sides. But nature didn't endow us with that opportunity, right? So that's the reason why we don't have that. Can you guess perhaps why we don't have rectus abdominis along all sides of the body? Answer is very simple. In our day-to-day movements of the body, we do a lot of forward bending, right? Pick up objects, etc. We don't say, let me pick up my keys, right side or left side. We do that very rarely, right? Sideways movements, very rarely. So why do we need a dedicated set of muscles for some movements that we do very rarely? We don't need that. So here we are trying to balance between how often we do that movement and how efficiently we are able to carry out that. So because we do it so rarely, bending to the side, the internal and external obliques are adequate, they are sufficient to take care of that. take care of that task. Makes sense, right? So this is the basket weave model of the abdominal musculature. This is a reference slide where we have just have all the origin and insertion points listed here and a summary of what actions each of these 4 muscles perform. When we do core strengthening practices, few things to keep in mind, contraindications. We have to be very careful if you have any of these conditions to do that with care or perhaps to avoid the practices of core strengthening. I'm sure all of us are familiar with this. It's also there in the YTT manual as well. Okay, so let's go through each of these muscles and see how we can target them, how we can strengthen them, and also how to relax them. So let's start with the rectus abdominis. Rectus abdominis is the most superficial of all the 4, right? So, in order to engage the rectus abdominis muscle, as we saw before, we can do crunches and sit-ups. A yogic crunch or a yogic sit-up would be something like this. You hold this posture for a long time. Now, quiz question. You look at this posture. So the claim here is this posture strengthens the rectus abdominis. That's what we are claiming here, and it's true. How do we know that its primary target is rectus abdominis and not the transverse abdominis? If somebody comes and says, prove to me that it's not strengthening the transverse abdominis as well. So how would you look at this posture and determine which of the 4 muscles are the primary target?
If it's bending forward, then it's rectus. If it's sideways, then it's transverse.
Transverse, remember, is the belt. So oblique is the sides.
It's actually both, right? You are bending forward as well as like tightening.
Are we really tightening here? Yeah, back is a little curved.
Both
Yeah.
pose.
So here's the key. One way to find out whether we are strengthening the rectus abdominis or the transverse abdominis is look at the navel. If the navel is bulging out, that means the primary target is the rectus abdominis. If the navel is moving closer to the spine, most likely we are targeting the transverse abdominis. Remember, when the navel moves towards the spine, we are tightening the belt. So it requires the engagement of transverse abdominis. Look at the belly here. It's actually bulging out a little bit.
Yeah.
So we are not tightening the belt.
Only the
We are engaging the rectus abdominis. Remember the tie? We are actually shortening the tie. That's what we are doing here. The rectus abdominis is being contracted. Makes sense, right?
Yes.
And here's an example of a board. This is the flat bottom board. Flat bottom means the spine is actually curved. There's primary curvature in the spine. And here also you can see that the navel bulges out a little bit. There are also other postures, the crow pose. In fact, in addition to strengthening the rectus abdominis, later on we will see the primary target of this pose is another core muscle, the psoas, iliopsoas. We will talk about that a little later. So these are some of the postures that you can do for strengthening the rectus abdominis. By the way, there are many versions of the board, and even with the same version of the board, you can change the height of the board, how high you lift the legs. If you raise the legs only a few inches off the ground versus if you raise the legs to 45 degrees or even more. By the way, raising the legs just a few inches off the ground is actually more challenging because there's a big lever arm effect. And by changing the height of the board, you can actually change the target area on the rectus abdominis. That's how in the ancient days, yogis built six-pack muscle because they were able to target each segment of the rectus abdominis just by changing the height of the legs. It's a very amazing way to do that, right? So this is practices for strengthening the rectus abdominis. Now let us see how to stretch them or how to relax constantly keep the rectus abdominis engaged, it will also interfere with the breathing process. And it will also have the effect of slouching the spine, because when we engage the rectus abdominis, remember it's like a tie, and you're shortening the tie, and they have a tendency to do this. That's